best. It's Monday here on The Story, and tonight we've got a great show for you. We start in Idaho with why a woman there arrested for her role in the January 6th Capitol riots doesn't want President Trump's pardon. Plus, a shakedown in Northeast Portland between a homeless camp in a neighborhood, why neighbors say they feel extorted by a man in his RV. But first, we head to Old Town, where a nonprofit was denied funding by Multnomah County to open a new shelter and recovery housing. What's behind that denial and why the nonprofit now calls it a blessing in disguise? It's our big story tonight. Suffering is no stranger to the streets of Portland's Old Town neighborhood, an area of downtown where much of the city's social services are based.
You see a lot of people around here struggling, nowhere to go, homeless, cold, hungry.
A fresh coat of paint marks the neighborhood's newest addition.
So this will be the recovery program.
This red office building on the corner of Northwest 4th Avenue and Davis Street will soon be recovery housing and emergency shelter run by CityTeam, a faith-based nonprofit, to help those right outside its doors.
Great if I could get a spot.
I've been an addict for as far as back as I can remember.
If we were able to get in there and successfully, I think us getting clean, it would change my life tremendously. We'd be able to have our kids, and I imagine be able to live like a normal person.
And then the third floor will be longer-term recovery housing.
Those at CityTeam are hoping to open it by September 1st. But it's not cheap, so they applied for 2 grants from Multnomah County's Joint Office of Homeless Services. A CityTeam asked for about $500,000 both times. They were denied each time. They were also denied a 3rd grant specifically for recovery housing.
Honestly, yes, there was a little part of me that was baffled by that. At the end of the day, though, I think that it's a good thing because we're not tied to any public money at all right now. As being a private funded organization, we have the freedom to run our programs the way that we do, and they're really successful.
A spokesperson for the Joint Office tells KGW CityTeam's applications did not score as high as other applicants. It came down to a lack of programming efforts to address racial disparities or connect shelter guests to other community resources. There were also concerns with the project timeline and that the emergency shelter beds are only for men. In total, 31 organizations applied for the county's grant money. 10 were selected. The county has yet to announce who they are or how much money was given out. Here's Dan Field, the head of the Joint Office of Homeless Services.
It just means that at this point in time, their model wasn't the right fit for the way that we were looking to expand our system.
When the headlines were, there's all this money that the county can't spend and they're sitting on it, I thought, seems like this would be a good fit for us.
It turns out that narrative is no longer true.
The days of underspending at the Joint Office are 2 years behind us. We are not only spending every dollar that we're getting from the SHS tax, we're spending more than we're getting, and we're playing some catch up. So all the dollars we have are spoken for. We are constantly in dialogue with all the providers in our community, even those we don't fund. We're always looking for ways to draw additional resources to the urgent crisis we have on our streets.
So this whole thing about the county not having enough money is relatively new to many people. You may remember there was a time not too long ago when Multnomah County was sitting on millions of taxpayer dollars to the tune of $100 million meant for homeless services. And it took them a while to figure out how to spend it. Part of that money came from over-collected supportive housing services tax dollars, also known as the SHS tax. That's the voter-approved tax meant to help address the homeless crisis. But according to Dan Field, the county has spent all the money they were previously sitting on. In fact, they are now overspending, which is in part why so few organizations are being awarded this grant money. Now, speaking of that SHS tax, earlier this month, the president of Metro Council, Lynn Peterson, proposed some changes to that program just 4 years after it was implemented. Metro is responsible for collecting and distributing the tax money to Multnomah, Washington, and Clackamas counties. About 2 weeks ago, we had President Peterson here live on the show explaining her proposal. If you missed it, you can catch that episode on our YouTube page. But her proposal includes creating a committee to oversee how the money is spent and putting more of the money toward affordable housing, while at the same time reducing the tax rate. Peterson wanted to see those potential changes on the May ballot for voters to weigh in. But her proposal was met with a lot of criticism from county leaders. They argue the changes would spread funds too thin and hurt the progress that's already being made. So late last week, Metro Council pushed the ballot measure to November instead. There will still need to be a majority vote from Metro Council to get it on the ballot. Here's what Dan Field has to say about that latest move.
Yeah, I'm not sure Metro would agree, but from the county's perspective and the perspective of the people doing the work on the front lines, that's a good thing. The counties are on track. We're investing the money wisely. We're building the infrastructure to serve people and to move them off the streets. And I think right now a change in direction that Metro is proposing would be a bad idea. And I'm really heartened that Metro leadership was able to recognize that and press the pause button.
Now, I also asked Dan Field about what he thought about Portland Mayor Keith Wilson's new plan to end unsheltered homelessness by December 1st. Gosh, just saying that seems like such a lofty, if not impossible goal. But it's what Mayor Wilson ran on during much of his campaign. And for the first time last week, he outlined his plan to the new city council. It includes adding 1,500 emergency overnight shelter beds, ending homeless camp sweeps that only push people from street to street, and opening day centers in each district, among other things, all with a price tag of $28 million.
I think the mayor has a really compelling vision. Like city council, I think we have a lot of questions, and he seems very open to sort of parsing through those with us. So in really quick order, we've got to figure out how do we pay for his plan? I think that's a critical question. We're all sort of wondering. We're going to be around a table, pencils sharpened, sleeves rolled up, trying to solve that challenge of funding. I think we also have to make sure that the model he's proposing of overnight shelters still allows us to put people on a path to housing.
All right, so what do you make of all these funding issues? Are you surprised that the county denied CityTeam the money it asked for? What about the county now overspending taxpayer dollars on homeless services? Let us know your thoughts. Email us at thestory@kgw.com or call and leave a voicemail, 503-226-5090. Now to a situation that caught our attention in one Northeast Portland neighborhood. A few weeks ago, this RV moved onto this residential section of Haslow Street near 37th Avenue. As you can see, there are many homes and not a lot of other homeless camps or even services in the immediate vicinity. So why would a homeless person park here? Well, apparently the RV broke down. I talked with Josh, the man who lives in the RV.
Well, the lug nuts started snapping off down the street, and so I just had to pull over so it didn't wreck or something like that, so yeah.
Josh's RV happened to break down right by Rue Booty's house. Rue is a member of the Laurelhurst Neighborhood Association.
And of course, my neighbors are asking me what's going on, if I could do something about it.
So Josh asked Rue for $40 to $50 so he could buy the parts he said he needed to fix his tire. Josh promised to leave if he got that money.
I took out my wallet and I gave him $60. I said, you know, if you could buy whatever thing you need. He said he needed lug nuts for his truck. So I gave him the $60, and a week later, he's still there. So
He lent me some money, or gave me some money to get the parts, but I was misinformed on the parts I needed and everything like that.
Now, Josh tells me he spent Rue's $60 on the wrong parts for his RV. Then he made this sign. It says, just need $150 and I'll be gone tomorrow. Well, that didn't sit right with the rest of the neighborhood, who saw it as a shakedown.
it was surprising to me because I think the people in this neighborhood want to help, but he didn't keep his word with me. And so for me to see that, I thought, by me giving him a little money, he wanted even more money. So, I guess I can give him $150, but I don't think that would do anything.
And I feel really bad for the guy because I gave my word and he asked me to have gone by that day, and I thought I could, but it ended up, like I said, it's the wrong part, so I couldn't get it moved that day. And I feel really bad because the man is his word.
So it felt almost like he was extorting our community.
It's more for like gas and everything like that. Just trying to ask, if you guys can help, I'd really appreciate it. But if not, I mean, I walked around and I cleaned up the streets with my bare hands. So trying to help them out, showing my appreciation to them.
All right, now out of all the homeless camp versus neighborhood battles happening across Portland right now, this one seems relatively small. But the reason we're telling you about it is because we think it speaks to a core issue that rings true for many controversies like this playing out every day. And that's a lack of communication between the two sides. I've talked with hundreds of neighbors upset with people camping outside their homes. And I've talked with hundreds of homeless people camped outside those homes. And don't get me wrong, these situations are not always as seemingly harmless as the one on Northeast Hasselo Street. Things can get ugly and even dangerous. And if you think that's a possibility, then calling first responders or Portland Street Response is likely your best bet. But my point is, talking to each other and hearing the other side sometimes can go a long way. So I hope Rue and Josh can talk and find a solution. All right, now we want to bring back a controversial story that we covered last week. On Tuesday, the Clark County Council opened its session with an invocation, as they have for years. The invocation is open to all religions, but it's typically a Christian prayer delivered by a member of the clergy. However, this practice doesn't sit well with every member of council. Newly elected council Will Fuentes questioned the practice during one of their meetings this month. He brought up concerns about the separation of church and state. And he suggested the invocation was unnecessary and distracted from council business. But we wanted to hear what you thought. And boy, did you have something to say. Let's start with Rob, who wrote in saying prayer should not be part of the council meetings. We need to practice separation of church and state. There are lots of religions, lots of gods, and more importantly, science. Believe in things that can be supported with evidence, not faith. Deborah says, a big resounding no. Our founding fathers believed in separation of church and state, and there's been a creep over the years of too much religion, as long as it's the Christian variety. I think Eisenhower put "In God We Trust" on our money, which people forget never used to be there on our currency. It just irks me when one subset of our country thinks they can lord, pun intended, it over every single American. Jean added, ban it unless they have a Muslim, Hindu, Buddha, Native American, Jewish prayer each before a Christian prayer is redone. And while you're at it, add a Satan prayer, all religion or none. It's a United States Constitution issue, either a violation or not. Now that was what a majority of the emails we got back were like, but we did hear from a few of you who were for the invocation. Mike wrote in saying they took the Pledge of Allegiance and prayers out of school. Look at what we have now. And Pamela says, simple, if you don't want to, don't. And if you do, do. Simply close the door and others wait outside in the hall for a minute or so and open when it's done. All right, coming up next, an Idaho woman once celebrated in MAGA circles for her role in the January 6th Capitol riots, why she's not taking a pardon from President Trump, as more than 1,000 others are granted clemency. That's when the story returns.
So this is January 6th. These are the hostages. Approximately 1,500. Full pardon.
With the stroke of a pen, President Donald Trump issued pardons for roughly 1,500 people convicted for their role in the January 6th Capitol riots last Monday. The pardons were a central part of Trump's presidential campaign last year. The pardons have drawn mixed reaction from lawmakers, even splitting the GOP, with Senator Lindsey Graham calling them a mistake while speaking to Kristen Welker on NBC's Meet the Press. Even within the ranks of those who received a pardon for their actions on January 6th, not everyone agrees it was the right thing to do. A woman from Idaho who spent 2 months in a federal correctional facility for her role in the Capitol riots and later became known as MAGA Granny is rejecting the clemency she's been granted. Our sister station in Boise had the chance to talk with her.
Nightmare. A nightmare. I'm claustrophobic. Thank God the doors are not locked, but you can't go out. You just learn to do it 5 minutes at a time, 10 minutes at a time. You focus on watching TV all day. That's all I did.
But even before you went, and even after, you've been kind of adamant, like, this is what you deserved.
Yeah, absolutely.
Why?
I broke the law. It's just that simple. I had a choice. I'm not a victim. I'm not a victim. I could have left. No, I'm going to stay there and videotape.
Morning, you guys.
Except, according to federal prosecutors, Pam did more than just videotape.
Walking down towards the Capitol.
With her phone recording for most of the morning and into the afternoon, Pam followed the crowd from the rally at the park to the Capitol.
We are being cheated, defrauded, undermined, dismissed, and neglected.
Where she believed they were going to be allowed through the barriers.
I gotta get out.
They weren't, but she was. Recovering from surgery, Pam says she struggled to keep up with the surge.
And an officer pulls me over him. So I thought, okay, he's letting me in first, so I go around. Oh my God, this is the worst part. Saying, come on in. What are you doing? It's our house.
Just come on in. What are you doing? Just get in here. It's your house.
Back outside the barrier, it wouldn't take long for the crowd to follow her suggestion. Pam says she was swept along toward the Capitol steps, but they wouldn't stop there.
And when I got to the steps, they knocked me down and stepped on my head, pulled out my shoulder, broke my glasses. I was not breathing.
Are you hurt?
If it wasn't for the Capitol police officers, I wouldn't be here.
You gotta go. I gotta, come on.
Because I couldn't breathe. They pulled me up and put me behind them.
The turning point for Pam came weeks and months later, as she learned how much of the Stop the Steal movement was based on lies.
They're lying about everything, and I showed me a chart about the doors they claimed were being opened by the officers, and they were not. Everything. Starting with Trump saying the election was stolen. That's where it all started. It wasn't stolen.
So you went to prison for 2 months.
Yep.
How many days?
60 days.
60 days. And now you've been told by your attorney that you have a pardon.
Yep. Yeah, and I'm not going to take it. I got to do some research today to find out who I contact to refuse it.
Why do you want to?
Think about it. The message is, if I took a pardon, that what I did that day was okay. They were criminals. They broke the law. I broke the law. Pay the price.
You have been speaking out a lot.
Yeah, for the last year and a half.
Why is that?
It's my amends for ever being there that day. It's my amends. The least I can do, compared to what the Capitol police officers went through that day. Oh my God. And they still haven't put up that plaque for them. Let's get that plaque up for those Capitol police officers. That's the least we can do for them. The least. That's my hope, one day to meet them and hug them and say, I'm so sorry I was ever there that day. I was a part of that garbage. You know what I mean?
Still pretty raw.
I've got to live the rest of my life knowing I was there, a part of it, cheering it on. I'm really sorry. Sorry can't get it, though. That's why I've got to speak out, be vulnerable, death threats, whatever. I have to feel that I've done the best I can to let others know that what happened that day was wrong. It was an insurrection. They are criminals.
Do you think one voice can make a difference?
I think so. Rosa Parks, she just did the right thing. That's all she did. That's all she did. It's the right thing to do, to let people know that I was wrong that day and we all were wrong that day.
Well, coming up next, Chief Meteorologist Matt Zaffino joins us with a look ahead at what to expect later this week as weather models hint at the possibility of snow. We'll be right back. Well, so far this winter season has seemed like anything but your typical Pacific Northwest winter. We haven't seen much rain as we reach day 15 of this January dry spell, which is approaching Portland's record of 17 days without rain in January. But that streak could end by this weekend. Let's bring in Chief Meteorologist Matt Zaffino now. Matt, this could be our best chance of getting snow in the area that we've seen all season.
Yeah, Mother Nature's taken dry January way more seriously than I have, that's for sure.
Good one.
We've had a lot of dry days, right? So the question is, will we get valley snow? Will it happen? Whenever we even talk about it, it becomes a huge subject of interest and concern for good reason, right? This is our best potential for getting valley snow of the season so far, but it's very, very far from certain, and I'll explain why. So here's the warm weather pattern we've been with. It does break down. Of that, we're quite certain. We'll see the return of valley rain and mountain snow beginning late Thursday or early Friday. What we're watching is the cold air up here in Alaska and BC. Now, there have been some runs of our guidance that have dropped it right over the Northwest, would really increase our chances of getting valley snow. But the latest run, and this is the European model, which is a really, really good model, is backing that coldest air off to the west and off the coast. And we end up with a warmer southwesterly flow, which will definitely bring us rain and definitely bring mountain snow and some low snow levels, especially as it moves in. But notice how the cold air in this model recedes back to the north, right? So that would just keep us in a relatively mild pattern. Certainly snow in the mountains, but not in the valley. Now, this is one of the American models called the GFS. Cool westerly flow, but not quite cold enough for valley snow. Again, the coldest air is offshore. This one, however, is a little bit different in that as we go deeper into next week, it brings the colder air more directly into the northwest. And again, I still don't think that's cold enough for valley snow, but this is why we'll be watching it very, very carefully. So let's break it down by best case, worst case, most likely case. Okay, the best case, of course, and this is assuming you don't want snow, okay? And if you do want snow, then just reverse it. Best case is cold valley rain, okay? Worst case is we end up with 1 to 3 inches of snow in the valley sometime late Sunday night or Monday morning. The most likely case is we see a rain-snow mix, but no sticking snow in the valley. I think that's probably what's going to happen. Everything leans in that direction right now. The mountains are a different story. A ton of snow coming here, and we've got more certainty on this, of course. That's over 2 feet up on Mount Hood. And again, this is from the European model, right? The other model, which was actually the colder model, is bringing us less snow, but still a lot of snow. They're pretty close in terms of mountain snow. So of that, we're sure. We're going to get decent snow in the mountains, especially on Mount Hood, Friday through Sunday. That adds up to nearly 30 inches in the next week. So of that, we're certain. We'll be watching for the potential for valley snow, of course, all week long, Blair.
All right. Thanks so much, Matt. Well, that is the end of our show, folks. Thanks so much for watching. Straight Talk is coming your way next. And don't forget, everyone has a story to tell. You can stream the story on your own schedule. Download the free KGW Plus app, available now on Roku, Apple TV, and Fire TV. And we hope you enjoy your Monday night. Have a great start to your week. I'll see you right back here tomorrow night at 6:30.